Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, formerly Los Angeles, California. And we have since relocated. And my God, watching California burn it's been brutal. I finally mustered the courage to reach out to the property management company that I worked with when I lived in Los Angeles. Well, one of the property management companies that I worked with. I said, I've been worried to even ask. And I guess there was a 127 unit homeowners association that was lost. One complete loss. But man, there's a lot of properties in the Palisades that I've walked. I have, it was, in a way, it was my job to walk these properties and identify any danger of, trees catching fire and whatnot. If there was trash or debris left around the property, it had to get picked up by the gardener, the landscaping crew, and disposed of properly. Power wires, power lines, any health and safety issue, general aesthetic maintenance, regular monthly occurrences. But yeah, so I guess one property I'm pretty sure I worked on, they're gone, and there's a lot of others that are affected. I mean, of course they're affected. And so, yeah, continued prayers to everybody in the United States. I have no ill will toward anybody in any other part of the world either. Let me get that straight, okay? But I specifically have a task to give a shit about the people of the United States. Nobody told me that. I mean, yes, I went through public indoctrination camps that were elementary school and middle school, high school, college. Yes, as a Boy Scout, be prepared. That's a mantra. Public indoctrination camp. That's a mantra that's worked into us from the very early days. As a Christian, you're supposed to give back. You're supposed to be helpful in your community. You're supposed to be a net positive, not a net negative. And so, is it how I'm wired? Is it how people wired me? Is it how I'm choosing to wire myself today? I don't know. That's like nature versus nurture. In psychology, it's like, well, someone that grows up very successful and productive and happy, like what did they have? Nature? Like, what are the biologics? What are the genetics? What are the ingrained code in the DNA? If you're they do this with racehorses. In Churchill Downs, the thoroughbred, there's a breed of horses that are fantastic, and they breed positive traits into them. Versus once the calf is born, calf? What's a little baby horse called? Yeah, it is called a calf. All right. I guess so are whales. Whales are calves. But then it's a matter of the genetics that created the baby horse, the calf. Who's training them? Nurture. Nature versus nurture. So why are we who we are today? I don't have a lot of time and patience in my life for people that say, well, all sorts of things happened in the past, so, what do you expect? I don't know. I expect you to learn from it and grow the hell up. I expect you to level up like it's a video game. You're going to keep playing the same level? Bro, like, how are you not accidentally upgrading your boots in your shield, in your sword. You accidentally level up just by playing. And yes, I've been making a lot of video game simulation analogies to this earthly experience lately. I'm trying to understand what it means to be alive in 2025. But yeah, nature versus nurture. I don't know why I am the way that I am. Is it because of how I was raised? Is it because of who, when the sperm met egg and the spark of life was created, that's who I was uniquely meant to be? I do ponder all these things, but for a morning show, that's a little deep. But that's why we do what we do here at the New American Media. We're going to talk to you about all the things on our mind. And sometimes it's deep esoteric stuff, and sometimes we're telling potty jokes. So deal with it. On today's program, I want to get into what we learned yesterday, because I not only do, well, let me just say this. It's not that I only do one thing. I don't just cover the news. I'm not just into politics. I'm not just into current events or preparedness. I don't just do the agree to disagree show. We don't just cover the news. We don't just have sit down 2-hour interviews with people to really unpack who they are and what makes them tick. We don't just cover music content. Although like this week or next week, I think is NAM. And we had been to countless NAMs. Go through our archive. The New American Media on YouTube, New American Media, the New American Media on Rumble. Odyssey as well. They backed up a whole bunch of our stuff a couple months ago. But we don't just do music content. Check out for years and years, product reviews and interviews and musicians and concerts and whatnot. But we also do sports. Now look, I know there are more important things in life, but you were supposed to be my pleasant distraction from those things. That's a quote from Mike Polk Jr. yelling at the Cleveland Browns stadium, calling it a factory of sadness. Now, sports is supposed to be a break from the horrors of the world that are surrounding us. There's great times, and man, there are not so great times. And that's the balance of life. But I do a sports show. I do several sports shows. If you're on if you're on Facebook, find the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, a support group. In some ways, it's the main thing that I do. I like focusing on sports when there's good stories to tell and compelling content. I don't love focusing on sports when it feels like it's a political show. And one of the reasons I do what I do here at the New American Media is because I haven't been a fan of what ESPN has been giving me. I don't want to turn everything political. I don't. People accuse me of that. God, I remember like 5 years ago, someone's like, "Oh, you're like trying to be Clay Travis." I'm like, "What's Clay Travis?" This is before Clay and Buck took over Rush Limbaugh's spot. I don't know if I'd really outkicked the coverage. Wasn't really on my radar at the time. But he's a guy that talks about sports and politics because that's what men do. That's what women do. That's what humans do. Human. That's what people do. We talk about all the things. At least adults do. And I don't really have a lot of energy in my life for people that are going to shriek and howl and try to cause a scene and act like children throwing a 7-year-old temper tantrum. I remember throwing temper tantrums. I remember other people throwing temper tantrums. They're not great. Which is why, rooting for sports can bring out the best in us during those great times and can also bring out a frustrated part of us. And I've had to learn how to navigate that. But I do several shows. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show is one of them. Please follow it in all the places on X. It's at the Unhappy Hour _. And every Thursday, I've been doing a show with Mike Barra called Strictly Football. So we provide betting insights for entertainment purposes only. And we talk about the world of football. He's a Seahawks fan. I'm a Browns fan. We're both eliminated from the playoffs. But that's every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We do Strictly Football. And so we know what's going on in the world of sports now after the game yesterday. I want to just kind of start with that, and then we'll go through the news. Let's talk about what we learned. Of course, well, I'll end with the game we saw yesterday. Just to recap, the number 1 team in the AFC, the Chiefs, are now playing the number 4 Texans next week. Kansas City favored by 7.5. The question is, if you had a chance to take a bet, here's a question of the day. If you could do a bet right now, would you take the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl or the field? The Chiefs or the field? So the field would be any other team but the Chiefs. Of course, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I will take the field. I think the Chiefs. Look, the Chiefs have a pedigree. They have a history. They have organizational stability. They have good coaching. And unfortunately, it often appears as though the Chiefs also have the blessing and encouragement of the officiating crew. Never before has sports been so widely criticized as potentially rigged as it is now. The beauty of sports is that it's supposed to be neutral. The beauty is that it's supposed to be about merit and work ethic and focus, determination, skill, talent. It's not fun when it's rigged. You go, oh, what do you mean? It's not like they can throw the ball. It's not like they can. They didn't cause the fumble. Well, look, there's ways that you rig games. 1 holding call per quarter can end a drive. Instead of 1st and 10, oh, there was a phantom holding call. Make it 1st and 20. Oh, you got to punt it? See, we erased your opportunity to score on that drive and gave them another shot. Oh, there's a long passing play. Pass interference. Oh, so you can quickly just snap your fingers and get 45 yards on the game field. Now you're in field goal position. Right now, you've given them 3 points, or at least a 7 in 10 chance of getting 3 points. There's ways that games can be rigged. There's obvious ways. And look, there was the debate against the Eagles. Was that a pass interference call that should have been called? Because it ended the game. Are you supposed to let him play? I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I've been watching Myles Garrett, much like LeBron James, get absolutely mugged for his entire career. And the officials barely blow the whistle or throw the flag. Now, in the case of Myles Garrett, he just kind of deals with it. In the case of LeBron James, he started learning that if you really sell the foul, I'll actually go to the free throw line a couple times a game. The ref said, like, come on, you're 6'8". You're bigger, you're stronger, you're faster than all these guys. If we called a foul every time you were fouled, we couldn't play the game. Every single play would be a foul. They gave him the Shaquille O'Neal treatment. They're like, Shaq, come on, what do you? Yeah, you're the Diesel. Like, but we got to kind of let the game get played. So, yeah, you have some advantages and some disadvantages. And that's why, remember, Hack-a-Shaq? The Hack-a-Shaq technique came in because Shaq was not a good free throw shooter. All right, so we'll just wrap up Shaq. Go ahead, try to shoot, big guy. Clank, clank. That's a mathematical advantage. So I'm just hoping that the NFL does not do what it appears they have been doing, because I'm really sick of the Chiefs. And I've been to Kansas City. I've been to Arrowhead Stadium. And I'll tell you what, I've never been to a louder place. That's actually a pretty tough question. Loudest places I've ever been. I was at Woodstock, 99. Kansas City Chiefs was one of the loudest places I've ever been. And this was on the heels of Baker Mayfield being 1 helmet-to-helmet hit from Hollywood Higgins away from advancing to the AFC Championship game. Then the next year, we went to the home opener. That was against Kansas City, and we were winning that game up until the end, and it all started falling apart. Special teams, defense, turnover. That place went from pretty quiet, and I was having a great day, to one of the loudest most awful experiences. The Chiefs fans were really gracious. I'd been waiting all offseason for payback from what I deemed a dirty play from Dan Sorensen hitting Hollywood Higgins helmet to helmet. The referee should have called it, but they didn't. This might have been one of the first occurrences of watching preferential treatment from the referees. So this is very specific to me. But I will say I thought the Chiefs fans were really gracious, really great people. I think Midwest people are awesome people. Not everyone. But I had such a great time as an opposing fan going to that stadium. And of course, they've won Super Bowls. We haven't. We're angry and bitter. They're not. They're like, hey, good, tough loss last year. Good luck this year. Maybe we'll see you again in the playoffs. It was very jovial. It was very. The fans were nice. I got nothing against the people of Kansas City. And people of St. Louis, very close. We went there for spring break and our band performed and have an affinity for that area, St. Louis and Kansas City. But I am sick of the Chiefs. I am sick of the Chiefs being in every single commercial. Give it a rest. There's 31 other teams. Why don't you put Jared Goff in a commercial? Why don't you put, can Baker Mayfield get a commercial again? It's not just Patrick Mahomes. I'm really sick of Mahomes and Kelsey. So sick of it. Nothing against him personally. And I do appreciate Jason Kelsey taking a minute to respond to my X post. I think that's at the unhappy hour _. Or is it at the new American, at American _media _. Make sure you're following us on X. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching. So I don't have anything specifically against the Kelseys, being from Cleveland and all. Yeah, so we're trying to go live on our Facebook feed. Not entirely certain that we are. I'm trying to share a screen, but it's not the screen that I selected. But if you're watching on our Facebook feed, please let us know. I'd be curious to see if that's happening. Because Zuckerberg came out. Oh, he wants you to believe that they're a changed company. They remember, they deleted my company. Okay, let's see. It says watch live video. Let's see if we are in fact streaming live. Hey, we are streaming live on Facebook. All right, so it appears that we are on Facebook. Not that I trust their company is going to allow me free speech or monetization options. But yeah, hit like and subscribe. I'm just ready for someone other than the Chiefs to win. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm a big fan of parody. Now, when it was the Cleveland Cavaliers trying to put together a 3-peat, 4-peat, but Kevin Durant got in the way. And of course, injuries got in the way with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving back in 2015. I would have wanted 4 wins in a row for my Cavaliers. I get it. If you are the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, you want to win as many as possible. Sure. I don't think it's good for the league. It's not good for the fans. Hey, there's Holly. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching us. Any comments that you got? Look, I can even read your comments. That's fantastic. Yeah, I yesterday sent out about 60 friend requests or requests to follow the New American Media on Facebook. I hadn't cared. They deleted my company page without opportunity to remedy any alleged issue. No explanation as to why. No customer service. They just erased the New American Media. And I'm like, well, why should I care about your platform anymore? So I've mainly been doing programs and content here so that I can put it on Rumble and X. Whereas I had put most of my energy for the New American Media into YouTube and Facebook. So yeah, I just started the page again. And I went to go live yesterday. I'm like, all right, let's do a morning show, the TNAM morning show. Let's get into things and talk about what's going on in the world. Maybe lead with sports, keep it light. Of course, today I start off all philosophical about life being a simulation, reminiscent of a video game. But come on, if you're not paying attention and having conversations about the important things in life, such as who are we, how do we get here, and what happens next, what are you doing? What are you even doing? It's not all about politics. It's not all about sports. There's an eternal soul, or there's not. This is a simulation. It's reincarnation, and you keep spinning around and around until you get it right. I don't know. But we're going to talk about all the things here on the TNAM Morning Show. But yeah, Holly says she's on Facebook Live watching. Thanks for confirming that it is going through. Appreciate that. She says she 100% agrees about the Chiefs. I'm sick of them. Oh, and then the Taylor Swift. Blah. I have had it up to here. I'm done. I'm bored. Give it some parity. Give it to some franchises. Here's who I was rooting for. Baker Mayfield was the number one player that I was rooting for in the NFL once my Browns were eliminated, which happened many, many weeks ago, by the way. And to Holly's point, look, she's a Bengals fan. I was cheering for Joe Burrow. I don't dislike Joe Burrow. Someone posted, I hate how much I don't dislike Joe Burrow. Former Buckeye from Athens, Ohio, southeastern Ohio. Could have been a Buckeye, could have been a Brown. Just, it didn't work out that way. But yeah, I was pulling for Baker Mayfield to win a Super Bowl the most. I felt like I'm a fan. I'm not re-legislating any of my Baker stuff, and I don't have to prove anything to anyone. He's a very good player. Yeah, but there was a handoff and there was a fumble, and see, he cost the game. Nobody could ever win anything because of Baker Mayfield. Yeah, you win your division back-to-back years. There were only, 3 quarterbacks that did what Baker did this year? 70% completion rating, 40 touchdowns, and I forget what, 4,500 passing yards or something. Okay. Yeah, he's just an average guy, a bum. Yeah, we should move on to Deshaun Watson. Trade all our draft picks away. Deshaun Watson's so much better. No, he's not. Even in Houston, he wasn't that much better. And he doesn't play smart football. He plays run around, chuck it as far as you can in the backyard football, which is fun. That's how I grew up playing football, in the backyard, chucking it around. But man, it just seems like people like Patrick Mahomes running around, and he did one of those running, scrambling over this way, and then just hurls it 45 yards downfield to Tyreek Hill against the Browns, I believe it was. That was the big play that turned all the momentum in the game. And it's like, you lucky son of a... You lucky. Now, of course, that's talent. It takes skill to do that and to have the arm strength, and not everybody can. So, I get that there's a skill involved, but I like the precision stuff. I like the way Baker Mayfield plays. But I'm just sick of the same teams winning it. There's a lot of fans out there that have never celebrated a Super Bowl, and that needs to change. So after Baker and the Bucs were eliminated, and look, Tom Brady recently got them a championship. So I'm not rooting for Tampa Bay because of their fans or their city. I don't care in that way. I just like Baker Mayfield. I wish he would have won a Super Bowl with the Browns. And Baker winning a Super Bowl elsewhere will prove that I was right. We should have never gotten rid of him. We should have found a way to make it work. I blame Stefanski and Barry and, of course, Jimmy Haslam and Paul DePodesta. Anyway, what we saw yesterday. Oh, I'm going to end with the Rams-Vikings game. So anyway, Chiefs play the Texans. The line is 7.5. Kansas City is the favorites. I think I like the Chiefs there. I reserve the right to change my opinion for Thursday's Strictly Football show, where Mike Barrett and I will make our actual predictions. Bills-Ravens. What a coin flip. The number 2 Bills should be hosting here. They got this inverted. They got this upside down. It should be Bills at Ravens. It should be the top at the bottom. So it should be Ravens at Bills. I don't know why they've done it this way. In the history of sports, it's always the team visiting the home team, first and second. But anyway, Baltimore is favored by a point. Oh, that's a tough game to pick. That's almost a pick 'em. Let's get into the Rams-Vikings game yesterday. Look, Sam Darnold kind of came back to earth. 25 of 40, 245 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, but it kind of wasn't even that good. The eye test didn't look that close. Aaron Jones had a nice run or two, but for the most part, they couldn't get too much going on the ground. You know, Vikings fumble. The fumbles turn into touchdowns. So it wasn't just that Sam Darnold threw an interception. It's that a fumble from the quarterback led to a touchdown that helped seal the game. And that's what people said about Baker Mayfield and Jalen McMillan on that end-around handoff that went awry. Yeah, the timing was a split second off. Was that on Baker? Was that on McMillan? Baker takes the responsibility. He's like, yeah, this one's going to haunt me for a long time. It's a dumb play. I mean, yeah, look, it's hard to be perfect. But the Vikings got annihilated by the number 1 seed Detroit Lions last week. And now they got annihilated by the Los Angeles Rams this week. So what does that do for Sam Darnold? Do they want to pay to bring him back? Do they want to switch him? Let me switch my screen here. You can't see that. Do they want to switch Sam Darnold now? They drafted J.J. McCarthy last year, so we'll see if they end up wanting to go to him. But what you have now, you have a Rams team that is clicking at the right time. They're getting healthy at the right time. Puka Nacua, he's become the new and improved Cooper Kupp for the Los Angeles Rams. Kyron Williams is a good back. Didn't have too much going on yesterday in terms of stats, but they got the job done. And once again, the Rams, they're a stable team with pedigree, with championship experience. Good coaching. Look out for the Rams. Of course, the Buccaneers lost to the Commanders. Commanders, hey, their future looks bright. They could use a few pieces, but man, they played a good game. You can't really say the Buccaneers played like trash. Like, that was a hard-fought game between two pretty good teams who played pretty well. And then, of course, the Eagles took care of the Packers. Packers have got to draft offensive line. Man, they had one lineman so bad that he got knocked over sideways out of position, and he rolled up onto another offensive lineman from Ohio State and ended did he need carted off the field? I wonder actually, I'm curious. If I click on the Packers injuries, Jordan Moore, no, who was the one that got injured? Offensive tackle, Josh Myers. It was Josh Myers. Myers believes that he suffered a hairline fracture in his lower leg during Sunday's wildcard loss to the Eagles. Rob from ESPN reports. Yeah. That was terrible to watch. So you know that the Packers have got to go out and get some offensive line help. So what that sets up now, the number 4 Rams are going to play the number 2 Eagles. That should be in Philly. Philly being 5.5-point favorites. Look, Eagles and Rams have both recently won Super Bowls. Good for them. Commanders have not, and the Lions have not. It'll be the 6 Commanders at the 1 Lions. Detroit favored by 9.5. I lived in Los Angeles, and look, that's a nice storyline, wouldn't it be? After these wildfires, to give some hope to the Los Angeles Rams, the Los Angeles community. There's a storyline. If you talk about it being in the script or not. Commanders, hey, they went woke. They erased the Redskins. The fans didn't like that. The people affiliated with that group of indigenous, Native American, Indian elders, the council, the people who made the artwork, the people who were represented, they don't like that they were erased, but the woke NFL likes it. So are they pushing for the Commanders? Look, there's good storylines and young quarterbacks. There's a lot of stuff to watch. But I'm personally pulling for the Detroit Lions. I've never seen them win a Super Bowl. Nobody has. One of these founding teams in the league, but they've been in a rough spot for a long time. And by the way, John Dorsey, the general manager of the Detroit Lions, he was rebuilding the Cleveland Browns franchise, except Jimmy Haslam. It appears as though Jimmy Haslam had a personal issue with him. Had we stayed on the path of what John Dorsey was doing, and John Dorsey built the Chiefs, by the way. Isn't that exactly who you want to build your franchise? Anyway, I'm rooting for the Lions mainly to come out of the NFC. I will root against Baltimore always because they stole my team. I would like to see the Bills win a Super Bowl because they've been to several and they've won 0. Texans, I like C.J. Stroud being a Buckeye. But the Texans beat us last year, the Browns in the playoffs, and they fleeced us on the Deshaun Watson trade. So I got no particular love for the Texans and the Chiefs. I'm actively rooting against the Chiefs and the Ravens. Not really rooting against anyone in the NFC. So I'm against the Chiefs, against the Ravens, pro Bills, pro Lions. It'd be great to get a Bills-Lions Super Bowl knowing that whoever advances is going to get to celebrate their very first championship. And that's exciting for me. Because we call this the Unhappy Hour Sports Show for a reason. And the reason is that sports makes me unhappy. My Indians never won a World Series. And then they were deleted just like the Washington Redskins. I will never get to celebrate on this timeline a Cleveland Indians championship, and that is criminal. Cavaliers, yeah, we did finally get one curse-breaking championship. But how many did Michael Jordan keep from us? And Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Larry Nance, those great teams of the 80s, 90s. And like I said, without the Warriors in the mix, the Cavaliers could have had their dynasty. God, everybody that only wants to talk about championships with greatest of all time, with GOAT status for LeBron James. Imagine if he'd won 4 in a row. Yeah, well, you're just imagining things that couldn't have possibly. Well, if this, then that. But yeah, but that didn't happen. Yeah, but it could have, and it pretty much should have. It took Kevin Durant, the second best player in the league, joining the best team in the league just to take down little old Cleveland. They had to create that super team specifically because nobody could have beaten us. Nobody in the league was beating us in 7. Nobody. Except those damn Warriors. So it's called the Unhappy Hour because there's a lot of misery. There's a lot of frustration. And let's not even get into all the times the Ohio State Buckeyes had the best team in the nation, but were unable to deliver a national championship. Now, I hope that's not going to be the case on January 20th this year when Vice President J.D. Vance, an Ohio State graduate, I believe, right? Ohio State fan. I believe he's a graduate of Ohio State. Trump inauguration and Ohio State Buckeye Day. Hopefully the Buckeyes can beat Notre Dame and win the first championship in a long time since Ezekiel Elliott and 11 years ago, something like that. It's been a long time, and the Buckeyes have had some great teams that have been unable to get it done. So we're going to cover all of that on the Unhappy Hour, on Strictly Buckeyes, and on Strictly Football. All right, let's shift gears here, shall we? Go ahead and pull this up. We're going to run through what's happening in the news. A lot of stuff about the fire. There's a lot of angles to consider, so let's get into it. Where's the volume? Check out the story of this family. We have lessons to learn here.
Survive. How did you manage to do that?
I was able to, after the last brush fires that got close to us a couple years ago, I bought these cheap sprinklers, the ones that wave back and forth, and bought hoses, had them ready, popped them up on my roof, turned them on. I sprayed down a fire retardant on the side of my house, and I left. Got out with my family. I got trapped by the flames going down Sunset. It was difficult. It was like Afghanistan type difficult. But what happened is, because I had those sprinklers up there, the flames came down the hill, and you could see from where the sprinklers arced in the backyard that the flames came right up to that water and stopped.
Shortly, Mary Beth McDade is with us live near the CJ.
So look, there's a lot of finger pointing going on. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Don't try to shame me for pointing fingers at people that had a damn job to do. And it appears as if they never took it seriously for a moment that they were in office. I mentioned this on yesterday's morning show. I said today about that I managed properties. I took it very seriously to walk around these complexes and identify any current, active, urgent dangers. And I worked with contractors to get them out there to address and alleviate any of those issues. So, blame game aside, let's listen to what that guy said and consider, how can we re-engineer homes to have some sort of a sprinkler system on the roof to deploy in case of emergency? Maybe mandate that you have to back bury a 1,500-gallon cistern of water for emergency uses. So if the systems are down, you have a little plot of water, you have a little packet of water for your little plot of land to protect your home in case something like this happens. And maybe there's some sort of automated system that can turn them on. Maybe even if you're away, if you don't happen to be there. I want to think about solutions, and this guy has a great story to share about ways that, look at that. I mean, everything else around him is gone. And he says it reminds me of Afghanistan. So it sounds like he's a military contractor of sorts, or based on the house he's living in, it looks like he's a military contractor, not so much a service member. He's got that extra money here. So listen to the people that are prepared. I want solutions now. I want to start thinking all solution. Well, not all, but let's be heavy on solutions. What can we do to put water sprinkler systems on the exterior of houses? What can we do? It's something that could be retrofitted. There are ways that this could happen. And by the way, if you have a swimming pool in your backyard, like many of these houses do, there's your emergency water supply. Have your pump hooked up to it and run a tube, run some conduit over to the house and have it run across the ridge of the roof. There's a solution. Who's talking about that? Who's innovating that? Who's building that? Who's deploying that and testing that? Selling that? Innovating that? Come on, America, get to it. All right, next. This is a Navy SEAL, according to DC Drano here. Navy SEAL who supports Pete Hegseth. He wants to tell you about what this guy wants to tell you about Joe Biden's woke military. So here you go.
It's the weak strategic leadership projected by the 25-year-old staffers that have been running the White House for 4 years. I stand corrected. Lloyd Austin, travesty. Former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, forget about it. Should be recalled onto active duty and court-martialed for what they did in Afghanistan. Pete Hegseth. It's the weak.
I like the energy there because what they did in Afghanistan is unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. It's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. Yeah, he should be court-martialed for that.
Strategic leadership projected by the 25-year-old staffers that have been running the White House for 4 years. I stand corrected. Lloyd Austin, travesty.
Oh, is it the end of that?
Former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, forget about it. Should be recalled onto active duty and court-martialed for what they did in Afghanistan. Pete Hegseth. It's
Okay, the clip played over there. Yeah, I just want to make sure I got everything. I agree. There have to be repercussions for what happened in Afghanistan. That was intentional. That was intentional. Great people died unnecessarily, and you gave state-of-the-art military equipment to the bad guys. That's traitorous activity. Let it be known. We all saw what you did, and now it's time for us to be in charge of the investigations. I'm not tolerating that stuff. I don't know what type of 4-dimensional chess you think you're playing, deep state. That's some straight up bullshit. You don't kill American servicemen. You don't turn over an Air Force base. After all of the work that went into making all of that happen, to then just give all the bad guys all of the most lethal equipment possible so that it can be used against us. Are you kidding me? Here's a story from ABC News saying that a man dressed as a firefighter has been arrested for burglary in Malibu fire zone, the sheriff says. So, look, that's something you're going to want to keep an eye on, everybody. Just because somebody appears to have gravitas and a position in government, it doesn't mean you should trust them. Always be careful. ABC should stand for always be careful. Not the ABC, ESPN, Disney, woke Marxist nonsense they've been pummeling us with for 20 years. Always be careful. I like this 5 times August account. They get a lot of things right. I'm not super familiar with them, but I should book them on the show. Here, I'm gonna put that book 5 times August. I need to start booking guests again. I've gotten away from that. And that is really one of my favorite things to do, is to sit down and have a extended conversation with somebody for an hour or two. I'm just always so interested in winding them up and letting them go. Sometimes I feel compelled to talk a lot. I try more often these days to not talk as much. So 5 times August here post, I was like, screw you, government. You can't tell me what to do. But then I did do what they told me to do. And then I mandated everyone at my company get the shot. And then I donated $400 million to help get Biden elected. But rest assured, the whole time I was doing it out of protest. You believe in this? Are you buying any of this from Mark Zuckerberg? They deleted our company page without explanation, without customer service, without an opportunity to remedy any alleged issue. Piss off. Instagram, Meta, Facebook, fuck you. Nobody has done more to ruin the brand of the new American media than Zuckerberg and Meta. 13, 14 years I have poured into conversations, community, in the private groups of TNAM, the new American media, on Facebook. Great opportunities to unpack the news and figure out what's going on in the world. And I've been doing that so that this could become my career, that this could be the thing that I do. Each day I unpack the news with you. And I loved the usability, the shareability. I liked Facebook as a product. It was my favorite, still is. I like Rumble because it's the new YouTube, because YouTube has been trashed since Google came in and messed it all up. Their PewDiePie demonetization. They call it an adpocalypse. Oh, that crushed us. We were starting to make real income on that site, and they took it all away. Can't run a company when you can't get income. So yeah, are you buying what Zuckerberg is selling? I'm not. He can put his money where his mouth is, and he can pay us some reparations. $100,000 a year for the people that you've screwed over. How many $100,000 a year would you have to pay out to top influencers, to top people who have been really, let's say, super users like myself? I run like 30 different groups on Facebook. a different niche category for humor, for sports, for food and drink, for animal rescue. I have a lot of different interests, and they don't all go into the same basket. So I run these individualized groups. How many super users like myself would you have to pay $100,000 a year reparations to reach the $400 million that you spent to get the worst president in American history fortified as president 4 years ago? By the way, we're going to be at the inauguration. So follow the New American Media this week. We're going to be giving you different content to go and participate in something truly historic. I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, Zuckerberg, money where your mouth is, pal. I ain't buying any of your shit. Thank you. 5 times August. Yeah, money where your mouth is, Zuck, or go away forever. Here's one. There's music attached. Make sure you're following the New American Media on Instagram. Like I said, I haven't promoted Instagram much, but I love the shareability features. I love when I collate my algorithm full of really fantastic news gatherers. In the course of me scanning and scrolling and sifting and searching for the most important, interesting, timely news of the day, I get a lot out. And I put it into, I filter it down, I distill the best of the best and deliver you the dankest of memes and breaking news to the Instagram feed. So, the reason I am streaming this on our sports feed is because, look, I want to start off and kind of talk about what's going on in the world of sports. Cavs lost a game, by the way. That was awful. I think their 5th loss on the season now. Terrible. Kind of aiming at that best of all time regular season record. That would be cool. Although the championship is really what we aim at. But you could kind of feel like there were some trap games coming for the Cavs. But I love talking sports and all the things. I don't need everything to be political, but I want to start pumping some new life into the sports YouTube channel that I have and, see if there's a chance. See if there's a chance that we can remonetize these accounts. By the way, if you like the New American Media, ways that you could assist us are as follows. You can find us on, there you go, patreon.com/the New American Media. It's written at the bottom of the screen there. On Venmo at Brian Engelman, BrianEngelman. And thank you to everyone who has donated through Patreon, through Venmo, through PayPal. On PayPal, we are at Fuzz Installment, FUZZINSTALLMENT. So there's PayPal, Fuzz Installment, Venmo at Brian Engelman, and Patreon, the New American Media, if you'd like to contribute to our show. But yeah, right here, 4 reasons why California is an absolute disaster. Pencil neck Adam Schiff. He is one of the designated liars. Whenever the Democrats have to push something that's obviously incorrect, you will see him. One of the worst politicians America has. The amount of waste, fraud, corruption, destruction that guy's responsible for in his go get Trump stuff. Put Kamala Harris there as well. She was the least popular person in the Democratic primaries. Her and Joe Biden were number 1 most unpopular and number 2 most unpopular. So the Democrats rigged their primaries for the 3rd straight time to give you Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And some of you actually voted for her. I'm sorry. The Democrats have proved they are unworthy of your vote. It's not an endorsement of the Republican Party. I don't like the Republican Party at all. I like MAGA, making America great again, focusing on Maui in North Carolina, East Palestine, Ohio, and Palisades, Los Angeles Fires. We should make America great again, secure our border, build our infrastructure, defend our communities, vacuum up our criminals, raise the purchasing power of our dollar, lower the cost of our energy. Holy crap. My gas bill was through the roof last month. Keep it on 68, 69, 70. Yeah, gas. Have you noticed gasoline costs spiking as well? We should not tolerate living in a world where it's intentionally made to be so expensive that we cannot have the ability to live the life that we want. This is madness. What these Republicans and Democrats, the non-MAGA people, have done to ruin America, I mean, it's beyond criminal. It is absolutely treasonous. It is treacherous. It's devious. So I have no energy for politicians like Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi, with all of the effort that she put into making sure that January 6th went off the way that it did. Oh, she was involved in the planning stages. Oh, she was involved in the aftermath and pushing their agendas forward. Oh, she was involved. Oh, yeah. And California, you have to do better. You have to dump the Democrats. You have to get rid of the woke. You must do it. It's self-defense. This is about your survival. I do have a hunch that if the SAVE Act is passed, you will not see any of these people. I think just like Trudeau, Biden, I think these people are installed. I don't think they're elected. I think they're selected. So let's revamp the voting system and see what happens. Here's a good meme here. California, this is Gavin Newsom as Dr. Evil. California didn't fill their reservoirs, so there was no water in the fire hydrants, and proper brush mitigation was ignored for years. Climate change. Yeah. Brush mitigation ignored for years. Reservoirs bone dry. We're going to call that climate change. How about we don't?
This was supposed to be the water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for? Since February of last year. There was no communication from the Department of Water and Power to LAFD that there was a water supply issue. The firefighters, when they started fighting the fires, no one informed them that the reservoir was empty. This reservoir holds 117 million gallons of water. The fire department was using a water supply from 3 backup tanks, each one only holding 1 million gallons of water. They say it's closed for maintenance to repair the lid that's on top of it. I don't know a lot about reservoir maintenance, but there's literally no construction materials or vehicles anywhere in sight. Also, with a reservoir like this, you can refill it or start to refill it. So another question is, if they saw the Santa Ana winds were coming, right, and we have this remarkably dry wet season, why was there no attempt to start refilling it back up? I know I threw a lot out there, but I think we need some answers, guys. Some real answers here. This,
by the way, are they filling it up now? It's just unforgivable. Health and safety stuff you have to prioritize. Gavin Newsom here on X saying, stop encouraging. I'm not going to be able to see the original post. Something that Amuse shared and Elon retweeted. Gavin responded to. I think I'm understanding this right. Gavin says, stop encouraging looting by lying and telling people it's decriminalized. It's not. It's illegal, as it always has been. Bad actors will be arrested and prosecuted. Scott Pressler says, illegal immigration is illegal, and you proudly welcome illegal aliens to break into our country. No one takes you seriously. Resign. That coming from Scott Pressler, the persistence. Number one, please go to the New American Media on Rumble, hit subscribe. Go to the New American Media on YouTube, hit subscribe. And scroll back to, what is it, June, July, August, maybe July? I think that's what it was. They all sort of blur together. Maybe libertarians were first, then Republicans were second, then Democrats were third. June, July, August, something like that, the conventions. But we had an opportunity to talk with Scott Pressler, one of the men largely responsible, for doing the most beneficial action in Pennsylvania, where I believe he's from there. Ran into him in Milwaukee and had a significant conversation with him. Getting people to register, getting people to vote these Democrats out. So kudos. Secondly, so number one, check out that interview. Number two, kudos to Scott. Gavin Newsom does not get to run the narrative anymore. No, looting is not decriminalized. You've legalized it. I lived right across the street from a Target. I'm not going to bore you with all the ins and outs, but with the criminal element in the neighborhood that I represented on the board of directors, I was responsible for 25 buildings, 216 units. The health and safety of the people inside these units was paramount. If there's a water issue, we got to figure out what's going on with the pipes. If there's a problem with the roof, we got to fix the roof. If there's water intrusion leading to mold, we got to fix that. If there's criminals attacking women in the laundry room right next door to my building, sending them within an inch of their life around Christmas time, in one of the worst attacks that this senior lead officer of the LAPD has ever seen, because we all kept pointing at the same criminal element and nobody would arrest them. And then they would arrest them, then dump them back on our streets again. Years and years and years of saying these thousands of people in this neighborhood are being damaged by these 5 people. They keep causing all of the crime. They're breaking into our buildings. They're damaging our property. They're hurting our residents. Pretty much ignored by the Soros-appointed district attorney, the vice unit, the gang unit, the LAPD this, the LAPD that, the senior lead officer. There's a whole laundry list of people that we would work with our security companies to partner with. Oh, and by the way, things were set on fire on 4th of July as well. That's how the neighborhood lost its mailbox. There used to be a community mailbox that was set on fire, so they just removed it. Oh, but then you can blame somebody else for, I can't believe they're not servicing our area. Your community was cool with setting this on fire. But trust me, we worked with Target a lot. There was panhandling, there were bums, because those bums would then come through and start trespassing in our property. Suspected of stealing our property, damaging, vandalizing, and threatening the health and safety of our residents. We can't tolerate that. Oh, Target had a big problem. They had a problem with crime several years ago. And after they basically took away most of the punitive actions of theft, that's why you saw all 3 sports teams left Jokeland. The A's and the Warriors and the 49ers, they're all gone. You did that to yourself, Jokeland, by allowing yourself to turn really sketchy, dangerous, a place that people don't want to hang out. In-N-Out Burger. I think the only place they've ever closed was Oakland. There's criminal activity there at their store and their parking lot every day. Vandalism, break-ins, assaults, robberies, all sorts of stuff. California has been prioritizing the wrong things for too long. And Gavin Newsom being called out for pushing the soft on crime, George Soros appointed Obama doctrine, intensified and magnified nonsense, good riddance. Newsom needs to resign, and you need to recall him right now. Demand his resignation while you try to get Larry Elder in there. Again. Remember, about Larry Elder and that recall of Gavin Newsom. It took, a month and a half for California to finally stop counting anti-Trump votes? Okay, that's super believable. How quick was that recall effort against Gavin Newsom determined to be done? Almost instantaneously? We're not buying it.
Who else thinks this guy nailed it on this one?
In an effort to destabilize and divide our society, the left has waged a war on reality, chipping away at our common perception of what is true and what is false. They'll accuse you of doing everything that they do, and being everything that they are. They'll say that you're in a cult.
Yeah, that's called projection. Yes, this Democrat Party, they're the masters of projection. Well said. Is this Brandon Straka, I think, maybe?
While they bow down in unison and worship their false idols. They'll say that you're violent while they burn America to the ground. That you're lawless while they defund the police and release dangerous repeat offenders into society. They'll say that you're the Nazi while they lead anti-Semitic tirades from coast to coast. That you're the fascist while they weaponize the federal government against their political opponents. That you are un-American while they burn our flag, kneel for our anthem, and rip our Constitution to shreds. They've created a blatantly hypocritical and overtly dishonest moral structure, feigning outrage over the sins of their opponents, while flagrantly ignoring, excusing, and enabling the hateful and dangerous behaviors of their own side. They'll criminalize your right to defend yourself.
Who else thinks this guy nailed?
Man, he keeps going. That video is longer, but it cuts off after about a minute. I would like to see the rest of that. That's a good video. I think that's Brandon Straka from the walkaway movement. Correct me in the comments. I'm not entirely certain. All right, here's one from the New Yorker. I think someone needs to, the comment we made was we might want to check the New Yorker hard drives. They put out on X, they said, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, has become fixated on child sexual exploitation. You're not allowed to say that. The algorithms will demonetize you. Well, that's easy for me to say because we're not monetized. Because Google, YouTube is terrible, and Instagram, Meta, Facebook is terrible. Anyway, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, has become fixated on child exploitation in deindustrialized English towns, much of which took place more than a decade ago. What is he after? What is he after? New Yorker, I think you just told on yourself. You want to defend what's been going on, and you don't want accountability for the people that made the abuse of English people, English residents, mainly from Pakistani invaders, because of political correctness. You think discussing that issue? What's he after? What is he after? What is he after? It sounds like he's after the bad guys. Why aren't you? Your publication. Why aren't you after the bad guys? Imagine.
Newsom just bought a $9.1 million house with a $242,000 salary. How in the world do you qualify for it? Let me break down the numbers.
So here's Gavin Newsom. How in the world are they making this kind of money? Let's take a look.
Of how it would work to purchase that house. On 9.1 million with 25% down, that's $2.25 million as a down payment. With closing costs included, you're looking at about 2.5 mil. The way the monthly payment were to break down on that on a rate of 6.625, you're looking at principal and interest of $43,000, taxes of $9,500, and homeowners insurance of about $2,500. That's giving you a total monthly payment of about $55,000. Now, in order to qualify for that, you need to show a 2-to-1 income. So at a debt ratio of 45%, you're looking at qualifying monthly income of $122,000, 1.5 million in yearly income. I don't know about y'all, but that math ain't mathin'. Comment below how you think he was able.
So does that make sense? You want to go after President Trump for misdemeanors and try to ratchet these up into felonies? You take the same thing and try to say, oh, no, it's 34 of them. No, it's like one thing. Nope, it's 34 things. No, it's not. Using lawfare to go after your political opponent. That needs to be stopped. And the only way you stop that is you punish the people who actually signed up to do that. But how about this? Doesn't this look like something you should legitimately investigate Gavin Newsom for? Nancy Pelosi, all of her stock trading? Yeah, I think that needs to happen. Not because it's payback, not because it's petty. It's because that if we don't stop this, our country is going to be continued. Our country will continue to be looted by pirates. That's all this is. These are gangs of thieves looting our country. Instead of helping East Palestine, Ohio, instead of helping Maui, instead of helping North Carolina after Hurricane Helene, instead of helping Palisades? How you got a $10 million house? Make it make sense. I'm all in favor. Let's investigate. All right, let's go to the next one. Donald Trump posts, no water in the fire hydrants, no money in FEMA. This is what Joe Biden is leaving me. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Here's somebody. Go follow her at Vicky, VICKY _ Richter, RICHTER _ journalist. Met her in Nashville at the RFK Jr. event with Nicole Shanahan. They were doing a night of comedy, and they had Rob Schneider, Steve Byrne, Russell Brand, Jeff Dye, all sorts of comics performing. It was a cool event. It was a fundraiser for them. And it was really kind of as Kennedy was pivoting around, taking a hard curve around to joining the MAGA team, where he's going to now work to make America healthy again. So yes, we started following Vicky and her work. She's a foreign journalist. What is this? So she is following the eye-opening interview about the Pakistani grooming gang cover-up in Oldham, UK, and the podcast launching today, actually. So follow Vicky at Vicky Richter, journalist. She's covering that and a whole bunch of other stuff, including, I think, Bolsonaro, because they're trying to Trump Bolsonaro. And I hope Trump, when he gets in office, he puts the hammer down. What they're doing in Brazil with Lula, with that judge. It's another story she's following. So, link up with good accounts, and then your algorithm will be filled with the real news that you should be following. I just want to ask you really quick here. We're going to buzz through these last couple stories, and we'll wrap up today's morning show on the New American Media, the TNAM morning show. In the comments, how are you watching this? On what platform are you watching this? And is there any story that I didn't touch on that you would like to get my opinion on? Question of the day: what story that we haven't touched upon would you like us to touch upon? Just want to play this clip from former Vice President Joe Biden and ask, how does this make you feel?
I want to be clear. We're not waiting until those fires are over to start helping the victims. We're getting them help right now, as you all know. People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors have registered to do just that, and $5.1 million has gone out.
$700. We completely mismanaged your forest. Your entire life is burned to smoldering debris. Here's $700. Yeah, we said they hate us. That was our comment. They hate us. How many billions of dollars have been looted through the pirates over to Ukraine, to the Middle East? I will tear through this. Just, some of this is common sense, and some of it, you never know when it's going to be a really good idea to get a reminder. It's been cold. By the way, we have a group called TNAM Grow Something. Follow us in that group on Facebook. It's been cold, so the plants come inside. Little tiny flies in the soil. Oh man, it has been a full-time job trying to go after these flies. When they start buzzing in front of your peripheral. Whew. Anyway, LA Times put out this article. It's on our Instagram feed at the New American Media. It says, you don't have to live close to a wildfire to be affected by its smoke. With severe winds fanning the fires in and around Pacific Palisades, I can't get this one. It keeps buzzing my screen and then moving before I can stop it from moving. In and around the Pacific Palisades, the Pasadena foothills, and Simi Valley, huge swaths of the Southland are contending with dangerous air quality. Wildfire smoke can irritate your eyes, nose, throat, and lungs. The soot may contain all sorts of dangerous pollutants. So let's just buzz through this real quick. In the area of these fires, stay indoors. Check your air filters. Don't pollute your indoor air. Take care when cleaning up. Discard spoiled food, even if it was in the freezer. Consider alternative shelter. Mask up outdoors. Yeah, that's like the only time I would say maybe grab an N95 is if you're huffing all of this. And keep your pets inside. Yeah, keep your central air conditioning running and make sure the fresh air intake is closed so that you're not drawing in outdoor air. It's kind of like that little button on your car where it says you want to recirculate the air that's already in your cabin instead of bringing in heat from outside that's 115 degrees or something. Check your air filters. Make sure they're clean. MERV rating of 13 or higher. Maybe a portable high-efficiency air cleaner in a room where you spend the most time. I did that. I had a Honeywell HEPA filter. Still do. Have 2 of them. They work fantastically. Don't burn candles or incense. Don't start a fire in the fireplace. Yeah, you don't want your skin getting in contact with all the ash. Pants, gloves, socks, shoes, even goggles if you're in a rough spot. And if you're sweeping things up, you can hose things down first instead of knocking it all up into the air. Be careful about spoiled food if the power went out, even if it was in the freezer. And yeah, funny how they were telling you what they said during COVID-19, and now they're saying a surgical mask or a cloth mask won't cut it. Do an N95 or a P100 respirator. Yeah, of course. That's what we've always known. Thanks for telling us the obvious, but keep it in mind. All right, yeah, check out this lady and tell me if you know people like this.
Go ahead, MAGA. Admit it. When you see California burning, you're like, yeah. You know why I know that? Because every time I hear hurricanes come in or a big tornado, I always say, please, let it only hit white trailer courts. At least I'm not afraid to admit it.
See, boys and girls.
This white person wants the natural disasters to hurt white people. Can you make that make sense? That's like the Clayton Bigsby comedy skit with Dave Chappelle on The Chappelle Show. The Black Klan member. Tell me why a white person is saying, when I see a natural disaster, I hope it hits the white people. What type of mental illness has this person been subjected to? Through the media, through her teachers, her indoctrinators? We've got to get some control. Get a grip on our education system. Get a grip on the media that's pushing this stuff, that's causing brain damage to ladies. I think that's a lady like that in this video. What a damn shame.
This is your brain on leftist ideology, and they claim conservatives are the hateful ones. See, when we see a tragedy strike, we're not thinking, oh, I hope those are liberals. I hope those are Democrat voters. We're thinking, oh man, our fellow Americans are suffering. Because
yeah, as a former Angelino myself, and knowing how backward that state is with so many of their politicians and their policies and backward voting and just self-destructive voting paths, I hardly have any room in my brain to worry about any of that. What I'm caring about is identifying where this went wrong and coming up with solutions to prevent it from happening in the future. I care about East Palestine. I care about Maui. I care about North Carolina, Hurricane Helene. I care about Los Angeles because it's Americans. But there they are. They're outing themselves again. The Democrats project everything they are and try to blame their opponent of it. It's called projection. They are the most racist people. This lady's racist against herself. That's the level of success that the Obama doctrine has had to divide us by race, by sex, by religion, by sexual preference. It is such a toxic mentality and agenda. You know, like I said yesterday on yesterday's morning show, I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I knew who he was. I studied up on where he came from, who trained him, and what he was pushing. We're 5 days away from fundamentally transforming America. Fundamentally transforming America into 12 of the past 16 years being a complete train wreck. No thanks. I'd like to change it back. And not just change it back, and then make it better. We've been going the wrong direction. I didn't vote for the guy, but it was like, well, if this heals some sort of racial pain that's gone through generations over the past couple hundred years, then that's a net positive. I would imagine that we could kind of move on, get past that. Like, hey, look, everybody can do it. He can do it. You can do it. Let's go. Let's work on some stuff together. Let's solve some big problems. That's not what Obama's about. He's about creating problems and dividing us while they loot and plunder like pirates. Anyway.
We want Americans to prosper. They want people who disagree with them politically to be destroyed. And it's really satanic at its core. When I seen this stuff happen in Maui, when I seen this stuff happen in North Carolina or California, it hurts because I'm an American. See, if someone doesn't vote the way I think they should, I'm thinking maybe we should have a conversation, figure out why. Let's try to have a debate. Let's try to.
Yeah, our show is called the Agree to Disagree Show. I want to talk to everybody I know about all the things. And if we get wrapped up in a loop and it's like, I'm not going to convince you, you're not going to convince me, and it's starting to get annoying, let's agree to disagree on that topic. Let's talk about something else. Like, we don't have to become disagreeable just because we disagree on that. Let's find another topic. But there's more important things to this world than sports.
Change minds. But you think if somebody doesn't vote the way you believe they should be annihilated. They should be wiped off the planet. How insane is that? See, I don't wish white, black, yellow, brown, liberal, conservative Americans, period, to have to suffer through these disasters. They're people. They're human beings after all, which I believe have value. And as a Christian, as an American, I don't want to see them harmed. Please stop projecting your crazy fantasies onto MAGA.
Go ahead, MAGA, admit it. When you see California burning, you're like, yeah. You know why I know that? Because every time I hear hurricanes come in or a big tornado, I always say, please let it only hit white trailer courts. At least I'm not afraid to admit.
See, boy.
It's just insane. Rooting. It's just, that's the woke mind virus. You cannot send your kids to leftist indoctrination camps, Marxist brainwashing centers, to hang around crazy people like that lady, to ruin the brains of your child in elementary school, middle school, high school, then to pay 20 grand to 100 grand a year to get bombarded with that crap in college. No way. We've got to reclaim control of our schools. Our nation is lost if we can't fix our schools. There you go.
Good morning, members.
Despite several empty seats in the chamber because of the LA wildfires, the Democratic State Assembly gaveled into its special legislative session to prepare for incoming President Donald Trump.
I'd ask that you keep in mind.
By the way, this one, Arian Wexler says, California's Assembly and State Senate held a special legislative session. Is this for disaster relief, for fire containment strategy? No, to prepare for Donald Trump. They set aside $25 million for legal battles with the incoming Trump administration, who's going to try to uphold the law, which is illegal alien invasion is still illegal, even though Gavin Newsom's like, oh, no, things are always illegal. Don't misrepresent us. It's like, bro, you're encouraging people to invade your state, our country, and then you're taking millions, billions of dollars from the money that should be going to fight fires, should fight forest fires, I think is what I was trying to say. For the residents of California, you're stealing those funds and giving them to people that snuck in illegally. Gavin, you got to sit down. You need to resign, and you need to be recalled if you're going to take too long on that. Chickens have come home to roost.
Governor Newsom called the special session shortly after the election. As fires raged in Southern California, state lawmakers still prioritized their anti-Trump work. They established a committee and set a hearing for the legislation that sets aside $25 million to prepare for legal battles with the incoming administration.
I'm here to address this.
Democratic Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas.
This guy stuttered and stammered. He is a really poor public speaker.
Didn't want to talk about it afterward.
Good morning, members.
Despite
Okay, well, they cut that clip off. I watched him later. He is not fantastic. All right, well, Charlemagne the God now is admitting that the prosecution of Trump was
what a waste of time.
Was purely political theater. He says, what a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what a waste of time. Pure political theater. They was never, ever going to convict a former sitting president of nothing. And what was even more ridiculous was watching, liberals celebrate.
Was he using the double negative? Was he using the double negative of like, they ain't going to convict him of anything? Or was they ain't going to convict him of nothing? Nothing. Does that mean there was never anything to convict him of? I watched it yesterday when I shared this, or 21 hours ago. Yeah, probably yesterday. And I thought then that he was saying there was nothing to convict him of. But now when I'm hearing it, I'm hearing the double negative, like he's saying, you're not going to convict him of anything. I thought he was saying there was nothing to convict him of. You know, that ain't going to convict him of nothing. Not gonna nothing, double negative cancels out, makes it positive. Maybe that's semantics, but I'm kind of curious what he means here. But yeah, Charlemagne has been on a lot of shows and occasionally says a couple things where it's like you can see the light bulb is starting to flicker. And you just wonder, is this thing on? Or is it like, where are you at? Are you taking marching orders from people that are giving you your script to read? Or are you an independent thinker who's been brainwashed by liars? It makes a difference. We could offer the same grace to Mark Zuckerberg theoretically. But like I said, the damage done by Zuckerberg to squash companies like the New American Media and to put hundreds of millions of dollars into drop boxes so that you can flip the swing states to fortify the election against Trump. Bro, you don't just get out of that by waving a magic wand. You owe reparations. Charlemagne, he's the radio guy on the Breakfast Club talking about what's going on. So what do you make of it? But anyway, it seems like the light bulb is flickering here. Will this continue?
This is not a win. Who cares if you can call him a convicted felon when you still got to call him president for the next 4 years? Who cares?
That's a good soundbite.
No, it makes sense. And I wonder how much it costs taxpayer dollars to do that case.
What a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just how many dollars were spent. Pelosi and the Democrats did this for 4 years of Trump. Trump trying to just bring in common sense solutions. Here's America's boss. He's the CEO of the country. Let's get energy under control. Let's do this. Let's secure the border, make things safe, make things cheap. Let's get more jobs. Let's build some stuff. It's like, great. And all the Democrats did for 4 years. It's not just the money that they wasted. It was the political capital that they wasted, all in the effort to win a couple of political points instead of working to make this country great. The Democrats have perfectly shown you that they are incapable of governing. They should never be trusted. They wasted all of that opportunity because they thought, well, if Trump does some stuff and people like it, he's going to win another term. That's what you're in Congress for. It's to work to make the country better. You level it up. Well, we can't level it up because if it goes good, then they're going to like Trump. You cannot vote Democrat anymore, people. Please.
I mean, what a waste of time. Pure political theater. They was never, ever going to convict a former sitting president of nothing. And what was even...
They was never, ever going to convict a former sitting or current president of nothing. That is a tough linguistic sentence to unpack, but you get the point. He called it pure political theater, and it was. I'll take the win on that.
What's the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor in New York?
And this is just because the sentencing of Trump came and went, and now, they essentially called him guilty, but they're not going to penalize him. There was a thought that they were going to defer this until 4 years and then sentence him to jail where they could Epstein him after his term was up. But I believe that's not what they did. They just kind of, but we're going to play this, just got a couple more stories to share and we'll be out of here for the day. Or we might be back at 3 actually for the Agree to Disagree show. But anyway, let's just unpack. House Weaponization Committee holding a hearing on DA Alvin Bragg's case against former President Trump. This is all worth understanding.
1 year. The business records case is a misdemeanor, correct?
The underlying crime, the falsifying business records, yes, that's a misdemeanor charge.
So the only way to get to a felony is by committing it, or is by in concealment of another crime.
Correct.
And each one of those crimes has specific elements.
That's right.
And you have to prove, in order to get a conviction at trial, you have to prove every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That's just traditionally how this works.
That is the right way to do it.
So in the indictment, did they put the underlying crime?
No, they did not. They only described it as other crimes.
Okay. And in the jury instructions, did they put the specific underlying crime?
No, the falsifying business records was described in the jury instructions. There was some brief description of the New York State election law violation, but there was no description given of the choice of three crimes. There was a description given of falsifying business records, which was pretty ironic because it was falsifying business records to falsify business records.
So, and that's also a misdemeanor, right?
That should be, yeah.
So you have 2 + 2 = 6. Like if you commit 2 misdemeanors, you get to the felony statute of limitations, which they had to get or they could have never brought the case.
That's correct. But there's some more question marks regarding the statute of limitations. It's not cut and dry because the time that Donald Trump spent out of New York could be used to toll the statute of limitations. That was the ruling in the Court of Appeals Harvey Weinstein case. He argued that the time that he spent out of California should not have tolled it, out of New York, that is, in California, should not have tolled the time limitations, but the Court of Appeals ruled against him on that issue. So that's, I think, how they get around the statute of limitations problem in this case.
So was the election law case a federal election law or state election law underlying crime?
It seemed like it was charged as both. When we got to the jury instructions, there's a violation of New York election law charged, but then there's one among the 3 charges underlying is an unspecified violation of federal election law.
And then the third one was tax violation, right?
Also unspecified.
So all 3 of those underlying crimes have significantly different elements of the crime.
That is correct.
Were any of the elements of those crimes listed?
No, not at all.
So, this is important, and it's...
They wasted time, they wasted money, they squandered political capital, and they set us off on wild goose chases, all for political gain. It's okay to want to win the game. You play the game to win. But you don't win it like this. You don't deflate the balls. You don't intentionally injure the other team's players. You don't steal their playbook. You don't spy on them and from the stands. All the stuff the Patriots were accused of doing. You play the game. And if you lose, whatever. You play it with some respect and some dignity. I'm just not entirely convinced that there is a lot of respect and dignity right now, especially in that party. All of the wasted opportunities, all for politics. It's just a shame.
It might not be as robust or anything, but when you defend a client in court, if you don't know what the elements of the crime you're defending, how do you mount a defense?
You can't. That's the very issue of fundamental fairness that I referenced. You, as a defendant, are entitled to know what the charges are against you so that you can defend against those charges. Donald Trump was never made aware of what the extent of the charges were against him until the end of the trial.
And the elements of the crime go in the jury instructions. I mean, traditionally, that's how it works. Federal court, state court in North Dakota, state court in Minnesota. I've been in all of these different jurisdictions. You actually get the elements of the underlying crime, correct?
Any time that I instructed a jury, I instructed them what the elements of the crime were.
And instead, in this case, they got a grab bag.
They got a choice of 3 when it came to the underlying crimes, and we don't even know which ones they chose. So we don't know whether or not they could have been unanimous on those 3 or not. That's another failing of the jury instruction.
And that's why the people who participated in this need to be held accountable. They need to lose their law license. They need to be brought up on charges of election interference, of civil rights violations, and period, end, stop, hard stop. You cannot allow this to continue ever again. And if you don't make an example of them, you will get this again. I promise you.
So not only did we have not the elements of the crime, but we had 3 different crimes with 3 vastly different elements of the crimes.
All unspecified.
None of them in the indictment. The elements of the crimes weren't in the bill of particulars. Last hearing, I had the bill of particulars waved at me like it was some kind of magic document that flew in here with its own cape.
So the statement of facts only describes a series of allegations, a series of actions that it's believed that Donald Trump took. None of them describe any criminal activity. None of them describe any, they don't describe any elements of any crime.
So if people want to tell you about 34 felonies, tell them some of that. It's nonsense. Here's Jordan Peterson talking to, I haven't had a chance to meet Jordan Peterson yet. I really want to. I did have a chance to meet this gentleman at the bottom, though. And he extended his hand and said, I really appreciate that. And he shook my hand. He goes, we should be able to agree to disagree and have robust conversations. So kudos to Pierce for that.
And it's I don't know.
But this is Jordan Peterson. He's been living under the Marxist invasion, the Marxist takeover, a nation in distress in Canada with Trudeau there, doing everything backward to harm the citizens instead of helping the people of Canada with immigration, with taxes, with civil rights. Jordan Peterson has moved to the United States now because Canada has become so hostile. And Piers Morgan, of course, with all of these grooming gangs and all the problems in the UK with immigration and replacing all of their citizens with non-citizens. This brief exchange between Jordan Peterson and Piers Morgan is very important.
If you guys in the UK understand how sad it is for us in Canada and in the United States to watch what you're doing to yourself.
And by the way, I feel the same way. I have pleaded, I've called to make Canada great again, to make Europe great again, make the United Kingdom or England great again. They've been suffering under the Obama doctrine. They are suffering under a forced migration to dump non-residents into these communities to change their voting demographic, their cultural demographic. They lose all that shared history. If you're what do they do in Springfield, Ohio? They dump 30,000 Haitians into Springfield, Ohio, right by Columbus. These are 30,000 people that didn't grow up rooting for the Ohio State Buckeyes to beat that team up north, rooting for the Buckeyes, being either a Browns or a Bengals fan, and living through the 4 seasons and tilling the land and plowing the soil and working together and going to that church and shopping at that store and eating at that restaurant. There's no shared community. There's no shared history. These are just, boom, here's a new enclave so that this can become the new Dearborn, Michigan, the no-go zone. This can become like Minneapolis, St. Paul. So you get Ilhan Omar representing all of her anti-American stuff. It's to create little enclaves in strategic locations to change the demographics and the voting futures of the country, of that city, of that state, that municipality, that county, that state, and then the country, of course. This is the forced Obama doctrine. In England, with Starmer and everybody else over there complicit over the past couple decades, wake up. And this is exactly what Jordan Peterson is saying. Like, we look at you and it's heartbreaking. Get your act together, grow a spine, and figure it out.
I mean, the UK is a great country. When I go there, I go to Oxford, I go to Cambridge, to these remarkable places in London, see your unbelievable deep history, understand how much the world owes the UK in terms of, say, the establishment of common law and decent government everywhere, including places like India. We owe the UK such an immense debt. And to watch you guys like spiral yourselves into the ground for this idiot, weak political correctness that's gone so far that you can allow your working class women to be raped en masse sadistically and say nothing about it and gaslight people who are telling the truth. It's so sickening. It's so demoralizing. It's almost unspeakable. We all pray, hope and pray here in Canada and the US that you get your act together and grow some spine again and put your damn country back together and stand up to these bloody psychopathic bullies and the woke green mob. Because It would be a dreadful shame to lose you. And it's
Well said, Dr. Peterson. Present this without comment.
And there's been a
This is on MSNBC.
rise in anti-Semitism all over the country right now, and it's disgusting and it's horrible. People should know that one of the first things that the Nazis did, and I think it was in 1933, was they burned Magnus Hirschfeld's gender for sexuality. Magnus Hirschfeld was studying trans people, LGBTQ people. Lily Elbe, who the Danish Girl, the film Danish Girl was about, she had her first gender-affirming procedure at Magnus Hirschfeld's clinic. The Nazis burned it down. All of this research, and there were.
So presented without comment there. This is from Stinchfield on Real America's Voice. This is why you need to stay frosty, my friends. Get ready, get prepared, head on a swivel, be ready, be prepared.
Oscar, I don't know if I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I should have asked first, but have you heard anything about this Russian mercenary that was captured coming across the border?
I didn't hear anything about it, but it's not the first time that we have seen these kind of individuals coming in and through the United States border. Remember that in the middle of the Darien Gap, we encountered 2 Afghans that they were from the Afghan military, former Afghan militaries, and we have seen all these military-age males that they were former military. You can see it. We have documented from military-age males from Congo, from Cameroon, from Nigeria.
Congo, Cameroon, Nigeria. Why are African military aged males sneaking into the United States? What is the Obama doctrine up to? What is Joe Biden and his cronies? What do they have planned? What are they planning? What do they have planned?
Also, ultimately from Venezuela. So these kind of individuals, these kind of people are the ones that the Biden administration hasn't bought in and let in and just process and let go into population.
I know I'm asking you to be a psychic, but what do you think these members of foreign governments, foreign militaries, specifically enemies of ours, what are they doing coming to the United States?
Well, they have bad intentions, Grant. And we have also encountered people from the Chinese, Chinese migrants that were living in the middle of the Darien Gap that they told us that they were also Chinese infiltrated spies coming into the parts of Tacumba. These are people that they don't have good intentions. We have asked also authorities from Central and South America, what do they think that the United States is doing right now with these open border policies? And they have said all of them, we don't know what the United States is doing. They are becoming extremely vulnerable to be attacked by with them. So these people are not coming in with good intentions, Grant. They're coming in with bad intentions, and their motives are completely different of a normal, typical, average migrant.
So there you go. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's what's happening here. Let me see if there was any additional context to this. I did already play you Biden giving money, but maybe there's additional context.
I want to be clear. We're not waiting until those fires are over to start helping the victims. We're getting them help right now, as you all know. People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors have registered to do just that, and $5.1 million has gone out. And I want
All right, that was the same thing that I showed you. That should make you angry. It makes me angry. Oh, this was the one with some additional context. So yeah, this person says, F you, Joe Biden, 200, what is that, trillion, billion to Ukraine, you SOB. What about Americans? Why even bother? It's embarrassing. 700 for Maui in North Carolina. It's serious. It's seriously an embarrassment. But billions for Ukraine over and over and over and over again. Yeah. NC 750, California 770, Ukraine 500 million. It literally speaks for itself. Are you watching this? Are you seeing this? How much they dislike you. $500 billion to some place you can't point to on a map, while Americans are suffering. And this comment says, keep in mind the illegals get handed a debit card that's got thousands of dollars on it upon their illegal entry. Yeah, where's that debit card? That magic debit card that never runs out that they brag about. These Democrats hate you. Anyway, final story.
So we just got absolutely clear and conclusive proof that Gavin Newsom is just simply not up for the job that needs to be done right now to deal with this absolute catastrophe in Los Angeles and to lead the process of recovery and rebuilding. Do you know what he just said on some podcast, just dropped just now? He said, when asked about the rebuilding process and getting the ridiculous red tape that we have here in California out of the way, he said that he was going to set up an expedited permit process for rebuilding a house. Do you know what he considers to be expedited? 120 days. That's what he said. 120 days to rebuild one house. What is he even talking about? What kind of mindset and attitude is this? 30 years ago, after the Northridge earthquake, I was just talking to someone who's involved then with Governor Wilson. They rebuilt the 10 freeway, the Santa Monica freeway in Los Angeles. They rebuilt the whole thing in 84 days. Never mind the permit. They did the whole thing. Elon Musk.
And by the way, that was right by where I lived in Los Angeles at the overpass. It collapsed and fell down.
Just now, he built the world's biggest data center, AI data center in Memphis, Tennessee. The whole process from start to finish, from the permitting to building the thing, took 122 days, and Gavin Newsom's talking about 120 days to get the permit for one house. What is this? It is a total joke. It is completely inadequate to the task that is in front of us. On Monday, I will be laying out the steps that we need to take.
All right. So it's just, once again, trying to figure out where do we move from here? What comes next and who's going to represent us? Because it sure seems like the people in charge are either incapable or they hate you. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. Okay, I believe we are set to do our Agree to Disagree show today at 3 p.m. Eastern if all goes well. Hey, there's Kenneth. What's up, Kenneth? Got your USB. Now I got to check it out. That's coming. That's on the way. It's right here. So we'll check that out. What's up, man? Yeah, I'm trying to add a morning show and continue the regular show at Tuesdays, Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, as long as Blake wants to keep doing that. And he's kind of given some indications that his schedule may be changing. So we'll see. We'll see how things move forward from here. But yeah, I found that it's a really nice way to just kind of show the New American Media Instagram feed and check out all of the stuff that we've already filtered, the interesting, important takes of the day. And so it might not be that complicated to knock out a morning show each and every day. And if I want to grow, I need to create more content. I know that. Got to do it consistently. I know that. So yeah, it's not that we're going to have new schedules per se, but like I said, Blake has indicated that might be on the horizon. And it might be a necessity for me as well to either do morning or evening shows. But regardless, I believe today we're trying to double up and do the shows. Kenneth sent some music that I'm going to love. So I do look forward to checking that out. All right, everybody. That was the end of our TNAM morning show today. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully we can see Kenneth a little bit later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Yes, I am ready to do that, provided Blake Wally is good to go with that. I am 90% certain we should be good to go for that. So we will hope to come back and talk about it then. We always need a comic. Always need some comic relief and interesting comments on the side, Kenneth. You are one of the goats. You're a comic goat. You're a wordsmith, taking things that we say and adding different twists and linguistical limericks to it. Linguistic twist. Ooh, there's a good phrase. Linguistic twist. I like that. So anyway, hope to be back later today. Thank you all for watching the TNAM Morning Show. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll talk.